It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Just trying to think of some ways that Kemba Walker could be moved for players and how the Celtics could get somebody useful out of another team. So what's that team going to be? Well, it's going to be a team that is in a situation where they need help, want help, need to make some decisions, are out of options. So could the Celtics go to a team that's given up a bunch of their first round picks, who's given up most of their players? Kemba is still a good player, but not really as valuable as a guy who making $36 million might be. Maybe one of these teams out there could see Kemba Walker as a good third piece and be interested. So I looked around. There are a couple of teams that might make sense, a couple that are like, eh. Now, I'm not going to say Porzingis. I don't think Porzingis is the way to go. I think Porzingis is basically tall Kemba. You're looking at a guy with a tough injury history. You're looking at a really, he's a freakish athlete, but he's, as a perimeter guy that size, that puts a lot of pressure on his joints, on his lower body. He always seems to end up banged up. He makes close to what Kemba makes, and he's under contract for one more year. That does not interest me at all. I don't want it. I'm not suggesting it. Please don't. I don't think that makes any sense for the Celtics. It's basically trading for tall Kemba. You might as well keep short Kemba because you know what you got, and it's done after the following season at the very least. So maybe you keep Kemba this year and move into next summer after he picks up his player option, and you do this whole song and dance again. But no thank you for Kristaps Porzingis. If the Celtics are going to do that and get a guy in here that is making similar money to Kemba with one more year, I'm looking at, and I don't know that they're going to do this. I don't know if this makes sense, but is CJ McCollum available? I don't think he's going to be available, but if you're spending this much money on a guard, he's a little bit bigger than Kemba. He's a little bit younger than Kemba. He is a lot more reliable injury-wise than Kemba. And he at least plays, some defense. So if Portland, now they've said, Neil Olshey has said, they're not trading CJ, they're not trading Dame. I'm not suggesting any trades for Dame, even though somebody out there might have written something that says the Celtics can. No, I don't think so. I think Dame is staying, unless Dame says he wants out. CJ would be the guy that Portland would move. I'd call. I'd see. That deal works straight up. They could say, hey, we'll take it. We'll get off of that deal for 1 year earlier. That might interest them. You can put Kemba Walker out there and see how he works with Damian Lillard. Frankly, I don't think Portland says yes to that deal. But I wanted to say it just to say it because Portland is a team that's sort of in that position. If they value Kemba, if they think that Kemba can be that guy, and they think that he can work with Dame, I don't know. But I say this knowing that it's more far-fetched. Really, the two teams to me that fit the bill that could possibly want to move on from certain people and could possibly be looking for some help. I'll start with the Lakers. The Lakers first round exit. And I'm still iffy on whether the Lakers would want to do it. The deal would cost them KCP, Kuzma and like Alfonso McKinney to make the money work. So it's a 3-for-1. Kuzma had a decent season, had a terrible series, but he's tall and plays the wing and can maybe in the right system, maybe with a change of scenery, be a little bit more productive. Playing him alongside Tatum and Brown. I know he was playing alongside LeBron and AD, but it's guys that are more his age and guys who kind of need to rely on Kuzma rather than, okay, my thing didn't work, his thing didn't work. Okay, Kuz, you go do your thing. So KCP has value. He is under contract for, just looking at the contractual situation here, he's under contract for one more season at $13 million, and then it's a non-guaranteed year. Kuzma is at 13, and then a player option for 13. And then McKinney is non-guaranteed at basically the minimum 1.9 next year. So that's not a big deal. You guarantee that, and you can get him off the books next year. So basically the play there would be for Kyle Kuzma. Again, not great, but we're not expecting a ton of value for Kemba Walker. What you could do is, if you want to flip Kuzma and keep KCP and see if he can be a good role player. Now, KCP can hit shots. He can defend. That's a guy that could have a valuable role. And Kuzma could be a guy that you turn around and you flip to a team, maybe a younger team that is willing to take a flyer on him and see if they can get more out of him. So just because you trade for these guys doesn't mean you have to keep all of these guys. You can flip one of those guys and keep the other. And the net effect would be you trade $36 million for, ultimately, if you flip Kuzma or if you flip KCP, you're adding $13 million. So you save $26 million. That accomplishes Boston's goals, gets potential role players in, and you take a look at them. Is it the best deal? No, fully admit that. It's not something that's going to work really well, but we're really trying to stretch this, right? Like, there's no good deal here for Kemba Walker. You're trying to get back a role player. If you can get one useful player out of him and send him to a situation. Look, you're sending him to LA to play with LeBron. That's not a bad thing. So he'd be happy, I would think, to go play with the Lakers, play with Anthony Davis, play with LeBron. For him, he'd have a chance at a championship. That's what he wants. You're doing right by him. Maybe you get a decent player out of it. The deal that makes more sense, and I think that might be the one that both teams are into, it's the LA Clippers, which has been suggested by a lot of people. Ryan Bernardoni at Danger Cart is the first place I saw it when he said Kemba Walker for Patrick Beverley and Luke Kennard, and to make the money work, I would throw in Terrence Mann, who is young and a guy that they could easily part with. He doesn't do much for them. And same deal. You flip Patrick Beverley and you send him to a team that'd be looking for some defensive help, and he's at the last year of his contract. Luke Kennard comes in as a 40% 3-point shooter, but a guy who's kind of been up and down with the Clippers. If the Clippers don't come out of the West, if they fall short of their goal again, then maybe they'll be looking for another shakeup. If they don't want to have Beverly and any contract situations out, then you trade them. If getting rid of a couple of guys that are not particularly like huge players on the team, like you can try to figure out a different way to fill that role. See if you can get a ring chasing free agent to be your shooter. And look, Kemba can be the shooter. You need to figure out something defensively for sure, but you add Kemba to Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. That deal for Kemba, Pat Beverly, Luke Kennard, Terrence Mann, that brings the Celtics, I think, some useful pieces there that they, again, could flip. And, hey, you see if you can get something out of Mann, and maybe he can grow in a change of scenery type situation. This scenario would include the Celtics re-signing Evan Fournier, and the Celtics would basically believe that you can win with Tatum as your number one, making that MVP leap, Jaylen Brown as your number two, who can be a number one guy on some nights. Evan Fournier can fill in as a number three and play off of those guys. That Marcus Smart plays an important role, that Romeo Langford and Aaron Nesmith have important roles off the bench, and that one of these guys that I mentioned, that either Contavious Caldwell-Pope or Luke Kennard, can come in off the bench and provide some important help there as well. Now, look, if that plays out, if that scenario plays out, and you can get useful players, you're getting something in return for Kemba. Kemba's in a good situation in any of these. He's going to good teams, so it's not the worst thing in the world for him. It works. It's like a win-win. And if the Celtics can get an asset, you flip Beverly or you flip Kuzma or whatever, and you get a draft pick out of that, or a younger player, or a reclamation project that maybe can, who knows what you do with that, but turning those players around into assets that you can later use could be part of a bigger plan. Who knows? But at least you start restocking that draft capital, that chest. Maybe Brad Stevens starts to try to go down the Danny Ainge road and start compiling all of his draft picks as well. But somebody will give up, I don't know about a first for Patrick Beverly, but a couple of seconds. Those have value, though. It's not nothing. So don't know. It's possible. It's going to be a really interesting decision-making process for Brad Stevens. I don't know. Again, I just don't know what he's got planned. No one knows how he's going to be doing his job. No one knows what to expect out of him because he hasn't done this job before. So we have no clue if he's going to take that big swing, if he's going to take that tinkering, if he's going to be persuasive with Rick Grossbeck and say, look, I believe in Kemba. We've got to keep this guy one more season. Let's just do it. Who knows? Who knows? All of this stuff is all, at this point, feels like it's all equally possible. I think the trading Kemba is maybe just a little bit more likely. That's if I was going on to BetOnline and is Kemba going to be traded? Yes, I'd put my money on yes. But we're really going down a lot of speculative routes here because we're flying blind with Brad Stevens. Don't know what he's going to do in this role.